Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the German Tier 9 Premium Medium Tank, the T55a, or better known as the T54's German cousin, because it's basically like the T54 but it's German and there is some differences. So that is like the upper plate is actually worse than the T54, and before they buffed the T54 this tank would have had the better gun handling and slightly better pen. But they buffed the T54 so much so that this tank compared to the T54 is just obsolete, because the T54 gets way better pen, it gets the same gun handling, it gets the same mobility, better armour, better shell velocity, just everything about the T54 is better than the T55a these days. Unfortunately for the T55a. And that was the case because they buffed the T54 and then released the T55a for World War II just after that, which made it sad. But that's not to say the T55a is a bad tank. It's just obsolete compared to the T54, because you could just have the tech tree version of the T54 and play exactly the same and do, if not better, because you just fare better in every scenario, right? Because 221 pen is good enough for a lot of tanks you can face at Tier 9. And you've got 340 or 330 heat pen, which is just disgusting and easily pens everything you're going to face. So there is that. The mobility on the tank's pretty good for, well, it's what you'd expect from a tank that's similar to the T54, right? The mobility's pretty decent. The camo on it is fantastic. And like I say, the gun handling on this tank is also absolutely fantastic. It's a really solid tank. It's just a shame the T54 exists. And if you don't own the T55a, well, you're just better to get a T54. If you want to pay for a premium version at Tier 9 or a premium medium tank at Tier 9, you're more likely to go for something like the Kampfpanzer if that ever comes back. And go for that, because that's different enough from the T54, you know, to be worth the amount of gold it is, because they're both the same price. But a lot of people earn this tank for free as well, so it is what it is. So in terms of a crew on the T55a, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Run and Gun, Steady Aim, Track Mechanic, Camouflage Expertise, and Muffled Shot. Because the camo on this tank is so great, and the gun handling is fantastic, I decided, you know what, instead of running Snapshot, I'm going to run the camo perks to make sure that the camo on this tank's great, as good as possibly can be. Gun handling perks to make sure that the gun still, you know, can perform as well as it should. And then in terms of equipment, I run Rammer, Camo Net, and Optics. Camo Net, again, make the camo absolutely fantastic so I can get into flanked positions that I can stay unspotted while I farm. And then Rammer to make the DPM better, which is pretty solid, and Optics to be able to spot for myself. T55a is a tank that I really enjoyed, to be honest with you. I really like the T55a a hell of a lot. It is one of those things that sits in the back of your mind going, there's just the T54 that you could play that'd be better. But I do really enjoy it. I do think it's a pretty solid tank. And because I've already 3-marked the T54 years ago, like, the interest in playing the T54 really isn't there. And this is the same experience, but I hadn't done it, so I played it, you know, played through it a lot. And I did 3-mark it in the end, but it's just not this video. So yeah, the T55a, it's a great tank. It is absolutely solid. Like I say, the downside, and I will always hammer in the downside to it, is that the T54 exists. And if you want to play a tank that's very similar, just go get the tech tree one for free and grind up the Russian tech tree, and you'll get the same tank pretty much. So we're on Erlenberg. We've got 3k damage with 130 assistance. We pushed down the 2 line to start, and then we've done what I will always recommend to do when you're pushing Erlenberg. Instead of pushing into the position where our heavy tanks are, look along the JK, I pushed straight across the bridge at pace into that little nook that we were in there on the left of the bridge, and that way we could spot everyone that was sitting on the 9 line, and we could get good shots at them, and we could keep taking cover. That's the best way of pushing this flank if people are camping on that ridge, because therefore you can spot for your team that are along the JK, they'll be able to shoot them, and you'll be able to get a good assistance, get good damage out, and basically help your team push forward, which is always nice. And now we're in a position where we can help our team again get rid of this Emil 2, because the Emil 2 was hulled down, and he was having a good time against our friends. So we managed to get a shot into the side of his turret with heat, which is nice. And this poor Oni is going to feel the wrath of the heat rounds, right? Well, when we don't have an Emil 2 to shoot. Again, the Emil 2 isn't a priority because he is going to be stopping our guys from progressing. We try and pop a shot in, and unfortunately it misses again. But it's like, okay, you know what? We're going to have to stop shooting at this guy. Let's go for this Oni. Now, the Oni, with AP, we could pen those shots, but as soon as he turns towards us, 221 pen is going to struggle. So you know what? We're just going to start pumping the heat rounds in because, unless we shoot the gun. I was about to say, we can pen this guy absolutely everywhere with the heat. Unless you shoot the gun. Aim better, scrub. And fortunately enough, we can keep just penning this poor old Oni. This is the Oni's armor in a nutshell. It's pretty solid. Someone loads premium, laughs. It is what it is. But we're actually running out of heat shells, so we need to make sure we need to get rid of the Oni, which we do. And we switch to HE now, so we can try and pen the M4043. And hopefully we'll get over to kill it. And we do. We get to shut it down. So we load AP again because we can get these 75 in the side with AP easy enough. And I want to save that heat shell for if I really desperately need it. He's turning his turret. Unfortunately, we can't quite get the side shot of the turret. But Ross is doing enough to distract him so that we can try and get some pens in. So unfortunately, we ricochet off the side of his turret, though it wasn't turned enough to be able to pen it. But like I say, he is turning towards Ross. He's turning towards the heavy tanks that are coming in, which gives us an easy free farm into his back end, which is quite nice. And we're just going to keep working this guy over with our DPM. We did load the heat shell to go through the side of his turret to make sure we could pen it. But again, we didn't end up needing it because we just got the free shots. We're up to 6.1k damage so far with 757 assistance. And there's 2 tanks left. We know exactly where they are. They're along the 2 line. So obviously I could go straight across the bridge and into the middle. Sure. But what I might do is go along the A line and cut across the lower ditch. But then Ross is like, no, I'm going to go that way. So it's like, fair enough. Okay, we're going to try and create a crossfire. And that way, I'll go straight across the bridge, try and cut in straight up onto about D2. And that way, I'll spot whatever it is that's left and therefore get shots. Also, by coming this way, I've got shots at the Barask or along the A-line if they're sitting along the A-line towards our cap when Rossi spots them. Therefore, we're not coming from the same direction. But unfortunately, the Barask is behind the ridgeline at B2, so we're just going to do what I was saying earlier. We're pushing straight towards D2 so we could get under a ridgeline and hopefully not get shot to pieces by them. But actually, the Conqueror that I thought might be spotted, well, might still be at D2, is actually over there. So we try and pop a shot auto-aimed into the Barask. Unfortunately, missed. The Conqueror's coming over. Fortunately enough, he misses, which is good. And we're going to just try and push as quickly as we can under his gun line. We get a nice shot into his drive wheel, which actually pens at that angle. I'm quite surprised about that. And now we're going to go straight over. That Conqueror's actually stuck as well. The Barask is trying to drown himself. Rossi goes in to try and get him. We track the Barask, which means that if he drowns now, we get the kill, which happens. Then we finish off the Conqueror. And yeah, that's the end of the game. We're finished with 7.2k damage. Yeah, if someone's trying to drown themselves, track them, because then you get all the damage and the kill for it. Handy tip for you there. I'm finished with 5 kills, 7.2k damage, 757 assistance, ace tanker, the brothers in arms, the high caliber, because we managed to kill that Conqueror before Rossi managed to drown as he YOLO'd into the Barask. And yeah, 2k base XP, a really nice game for the T55a, which is, like I say, it's such a good tank. It's so much fun to play. It's just solid. It's really well balanced. But obviously, it's always going to be the same thing. The T54 exists and just does it better. And it's free, so you don't actually have to pay for it. Although, like I say, a lot of people learnt it for free in one of the season passes. So we're on the second game, and this time we're on Steps, and I love Steps. Steps is one of those maps that I really enjoy no matter how or when I play it, because there's just so many different options of play. There's so many different avenues of play. It's really nice to have that in a map. And so we're going to the medium tank flank, or should I say the more mobile tank flank, because I think it's probably harsh to call it the medium tank flank when if you're in a heavy that has not too much armor but has great mobility, you're more likely to go down this way than go get yourself into a big brawl along the 1-2 line. So we try and get a shot into the light tank that was on the move, but unfortunately we don't hit it. We're just being cautious in case they've sent a lot down here, because there was a lot spotted at G7, so we just got to be careful. because there is only like 4 of us on this flank, you know, we don't want to get caught out too soon. And we do end up spotting the 268 version 5, so just using the bushes to try and fire through it. Unfortunately, we do get spotted, but that's probably by something that's sitting along the HJ. We do bounce off the side of his turret as well, which is really unfortunate. So what we're going to do is load heat, because the heat is not going to have a problem with this guy at all. And this is obviously... It was always the thing with the old school T-54, and it's still the thing with the T55a. You just load heat, you don't have to worry about things you're penning, and it's definitely a nice thing to have. And we want to get rid of that 268 version 5, because obviously he's got good camo, so it'll be hard to spot if he does get unspotted. And he's got a massively hard-hitting gun with great pen, which we just don't want to get tonked by. So fortunately enough, that guy gets shut down. Like I said, that shows how good the DPM is on this T55A. He just got ripped to shreds. And then we spot the M53-55, get a nice shot in on the move. Fortunately enough, he misses us and just splashes us for a little bit. And we shut down the M53-55. Now it's time to move in to start shooting people along where the Conway and the STRV is, and spotting the people along where the standard B is. And seeing if there's anything camping along the K line, because, you know, sometimes there is stuff camping at about K7, K8, so you just got to be careful when you're pushing into these positions. So we're not actually detected as we're moving here, so it's like, okay, there's nothing here. What I want to do is push to this little ridge line over here underneath the gun of the standard B, and I can start spotting along the JK and possibly, hopefully, find artillery. And that way I'll be able to stay hull down. Now, I'm coming around and I'm like, where's the standard B gone? He's not here. My team hasn't quite followed me enough yet, so we are being very bold here without support. We probably should have waited a little bit longer. We get spotted by the Jagdpanzer, who is pulling back, and it's like, oh, ha! Hello, artillery. Well, this is why we've loaded HE. 426 into that guy, and we're chasing after it, because we want the Pascuches. We want to shut this guy down. Then we spot a TS5, and it's like, okay, no, he's not looking our way. We're not hesitating from our kill, from our objective. Get out of here, Piggy. That's the Piggy gun. Now we have to pull back, because the TS5 is turning towards us. And, you know, he's got pretty solid DPM and a pretty solid gun. We bounce on his cupola, because the armor on the TS5 is really, really good. Probably need heat to guarantee going through his cupola. Then the Conway comes in, it shoots us. We get a shot into him, and he shoots us. We are loading heat, though, and this is where it's easy to go through this guy's cupola. Again, it's the whole thing of being a tier 8, right? Where your armor, you can have really good armor, you can be based on really good armor, but as soon as you face things that have really high pen premium rounds, it's not going to end very well. And yeah, we really do struggle to pen that guy with AP for 221 in the cupola, but with heat, it's just going to go through every time nearly. So we shut down the Conway, who was distracted. And now we're looking at shots for this Jagdpanzer, because the Jagdpanzer's holding our team back. We shoot the heat straight through his superstructure, but now the standard B's coming. It's like, oh no, I don't want heat for the standard B, because I need it for the Jagdpanzer. I don't know why I haven't reloaded AP, but fortunately enough he bounces. And yeah, fortunately enough for me, because the intro clip is quite long on that tank, I get to shut him down without taking another hit, which means I've got some hit points to play with, which is definitely nice. So now that Jagdpanzer's gone, we're going to go after the TS5, which I think is still alive. He was somewhere around this corner on the 2 line. So we're going to try and spot him and get a flanking shot into his side. But he's not there anymore. There's the heavy tank there that's just got spotted. There is the TS5 fully running away in full flight. Aiming for the shot inside, can't quite get it. But we do get a shot into the side of the 50TP. He's now a one-shot for us, which is nice. He's actually just coming over. Wouldn't have advised that, sir. That was not a good move. And we get to shut him down. Now, this 257 is going to be a little bit awkward, because we're not guaranteed to go through him with 221 pen, even in this side here. Although he is giving us good shots into his underbelly. It's going to be a little bit awkward without our heat rounds. But fortunately enough, he's not that interested in us. So we poke over. Try and get the shot into the side of the turret. That was a bad choice. I should have loaded heat here to definitely go through that guy, but I wanted to be essentially cheap. We try and get the kill into the TS5, but unfortunately he gets shut down, and before we reloaded, 257 is also shut down, so it's like, oh, good. And now there's actually 2 tanks left. There's a full healthy 100. Oh, juicy. Looking for the shot. We're going to struggle with that guy with AP. And we only have heat rounds. There's the King Dragon gets spotted. So now we know we can push forward. So that's what we're going to do. We're keeping heat in because, like I say, being able to pen the E100 is definitely going to be easier with the heat than it will be with the AP. And it's like deciding where we're going to go to get at this guy. So he's actually behind this second ridge line. Our light tank's gone round, so I'm going to gamble that this E100 is actually not looking at me or in my direction. And I should hopefully get some shots into the side of his turret. And that is exactly how it is. We slap a shot into the side of his turret, damages ammo rack. D75 shoots him, hopefully reloading time to get the kill, and we do. And we finish the game with 6.1k damage, 1400 assistance, victory, 7 kills, Ace Tanker, Devastator, Pascuchis, Top Gun, High Caliber, 2.1k base XP. A really nice game for the T55a, which is an absolutely solid tank. It's just a shame that the T54 has been so overbuffed that it just completely obsoletes the tank. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.